It's the weekly show with David J. Maloney. This week, David talks to filmmaker Josephine Mackeras. And now, here's your host, David J. Maloney.
Welcome to everyone at home, and I would normally say our studio audience, to the weekly show. I am your host, David J. Maloney. I say normally because we usually shoot the show before a small studio audience at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino, but we're still shooting from home due to coronavirus concerns. And because we are still shooting from home, sitting in for our regular house band, the Mogiles, tonight is my son, Gianni. So, McDonald's is bringing back the McRib. It will only be around for a limited time. But then again, if you frequent McDonald's, so will you. And disgraced New Yorker magazine writer and CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin is lying low after exposing himself in a Zoom meeting. Sources say he can't stop beating himself up. Yeah, beating himself up. I mean, after all, he did ruin his career. And single-handedly. According to a new study, apathy in older adults indicates a higher risk of dementia, but sadly, most apathetic seniors couldn't care less. Speaking of seniors, Sir Paul McCartney has a new album coming out called McCartney 3. He says the album was made in rockdown instead of lockdown. It got me thinking, it must be really tiring being his personal assistant. I mean, think about it. You got to be available 24/8. And let's see, I just got back from a Visine convention. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. Lastly, the Globe tabloid is reporting that Bill Clinton has just 6 months to live. Kind of tough to believe. The former president maintains a strict vegan diet and rarely drinks, but he's been known to have quite the cigar habit. Our featured guest this week is a French-Aussie filmmaker whose amazing film Alice won the South by Southwest Grand Jury Prize, and it's being featured this year at the Fairhope Film Festival. Here to talk about that film and the crazy journey she went through in making it is Josephine Mackeras. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. G? With me tonight is a rising filmmaker whose debut feature film, Alice, won the Grand Jury Prize at South by Southwest and is now being featured at the Fairhope Film Festival. Please give a warm weekly show welcome to French-Aussie filmmaker Josephine Mackeras. Josephine, how are you?
Yeah, good, great, thank you.
So your film's being featured at the Fairhope Film Festival, which many of our viewers may be familiar with. Before we get into the film and its production, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a filmmaker. I've been, making sort of shorts, and this is my first feature. And yeah, what else is there? Yeah, that's like the short nutshell version.
Now, you're French Aussie, and you said you had a name for that.
Frozzy. I mean, I self-identify as a Frozzy. I just think it's really cute, a French Aussie.
So, where were you born, and what was it like where you were growing up?
So I was, born and raised in Australia, and then I went over to France as a young adult. I mean, it was, so I'm not French, even though my name, Josephine, is a French name. I'm not actually, the reason I became French is because I lived there and, What
got you into filmmaking? I mean, were you artistic originally?
Yeah, so theater is my base. And that's where I've been in, since I discovered theater at the age of 9, and that was my, first true love, and that never died, so, and then I was always into painting, and I was a saxophonist and, had a group, and so I was very into all of that. And then when I discovered filmmaking, it was just like everything I loved kind of all combinated together into, my life's mission, what I want to do for the rest of my time here.
So you started off, though, as an actor, right?
Yeah, an actor and a musician. And so Yeah, I guess that's my angle in. Yeah, that's true.
So let's talk about the film Alice, which is set in France. How did you originally find yourself in Paris? Was it for the purpose of making it, or making the film, or were you already in France?
Oh no, I was already in France. I originally went to France to study with Jacques Lecoq, and then I just stayed. I stayed, and then I stayed, and I stayed. Yeah, so it wasn't really planned. But yeah, no, I was already there. And actually, the original screenplay was set in London. I mean, English is my first language. I write in English, and I set it in English. And then because going back a bit further, I had another screenplay that was a much bigger budget and was signed with a Wapadoobie producer, and we were in casting in London when I fell pregnant. And so the whole thing, which it had taken me years to get to that point because he was a very heavyweight producer and it was all great. It had taken me years to get to that point, and then I got pregnant, and then we pushed it, got pushed, and then it just sort of went, ugh. And then it just really sort of frustration to, how many years it took me to get there, and then it didn't come through. And so I wrote Alice with the intention of sort of writing a very big story in a small space so that I didn't need millions of dollars to, do you know what I mean? That I had, that it would give me some more control. And then the script was written and people were like, oh, this is really good. Just get a producer. It'll be so much, what are you doing thinking you're going to, and so I did. And then I kind of feel like I wasted, time. That was sort of a bit of a waste of time in a way, because there were producers who, wanted to take it on but wanted to change things, and there was all of that. And also, you get a producer and then you have to get the money, and then, it can take years and years. And there was just a part of me, I was like, I am not waiting another day to make my movie, And so it's sort of something snapped, and I set a date even before I had a team involved. It was like, I'm making my movie. And so that's what I did. So I self-produced it, and, it nearly killed me. But I'm glad I did it because and what's interesting is, now in retrospect, because of what's happened in the world, like who could have, and what it does to filmmakers and the festivals and, all about it, right?
I've seen a preview for it and can just see from that trailer why it's getting so much attention and buzz and praise. And I want to show a clip of it. Before doing that, can you tell the viewers a little bit about what the film is about?
So it's really about, a couple who have a child, and really about, the husband ends up, he's living a double life, and this Alice is a woman who's done everything right in her life, and then she gets the rug pulled out from under her feet, and in the process of fighting to regain her life, and she really kind of discovers who she is. So
we're going to show a clip of this now. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the trailer for Alice.
Non! Oh. À mon aveugle amour.
La carte n'est pas passée.
Oui, mon chéri, aucune de mes deux cartes marche. Donc rappelle-moi quand tu peux.
Madame Ferrand?
Monsieur Ferrand a retiré d'importantes sommes d'argent à peu près tous les 15 jours depuis un an.
Il doit forcément y avoir une erreur.
Élégance escorte, que puis-je faire pour vous aujourd'hui?
François, rappelle-moi, rentre à la maison, putain!
Il a tout volé? Je voudrais juste savoir combien.
Paris entre 600 et 1800 € pour une heure, ou plus.
Vous devez comprendre, au papier, vous êtes responsable au même titre, et il nous faut 10% de la somme afin de reporter la saisie.
Avance sur moi, t'appelait. J'ai bien eu votre message. Il te faut d'autres chaussures par contre. J'ai jamais fait un truc comme ça, moi.
D'abord, tu prends l'argent. Ça, c'est la plus importante. Après, c'est toi qui décides.
C'est la première fois de ma vie que j'ai autant de temps libre.
Je suis perdu sans toi.
J'ai pas l'impression.
Une mère qui se prostitue.
J'ai fait ça pour m'occuper de mon fils.
Wow, like I said, I can see why this has become kind of the talk of these film festivals. Where did the idea for this film originally come from?
Oh, wow. Okay, so I think relationships was my first initial thing that I wanted to explore, intimate relationships and that kind of need versus love, that I think we all kind of, it's a human condition. And so that's where, and then the political stuff came from the Elliot Splitzer. I was following a blog actually of a sex worker who was came out. No, she was sort of named in all that scandal, and I just watched how he got his life back so quickly. And she wrote a blog. She was a writer, so even 5 years later, she still couldn't get a job. It was like, wow, this is such interesting, it's such an in-your-face hypocrisy. And not that I'm not particularly interested in prostitution, but I am interested in what that says about us, So, yeah, and it was very interesting. The kind of vehicle of a relationship was an interesting way to explore that.
Now, you got into a little bit of some of the challenges and some of the thought processes behind making the film. And I know in other places you've said it was kind of an incredibly hard experience on both a practical and personal level. What were some of those specific hardships?
Well, practical, just not having money, and then, you're constantly chasing people. And I think it starts off like everyone's very excited, we're making a movie and yay. And then, after a couple of weeks of hard work, or, you start losing people. And then by the end, most people are angry at you. Or we started with 35 people, and I end up with I think the last shoot, it was just my DP and Emily, so it's like, yeah, that's tough, always being the bad guy because you're doing it and you're not, paying people, that's hard. And then also just being alone, I think that's really that, especially in post, that really, so that was challenging.
Were there any moments that were the exact opposite, where everything just clicked and just went so beautifully, perfectly?
Well, I mean, when you say that, it's like the South by win. I know that the win, it's like after the fact, but I was at South by, I was so exhausted. I was I remember even the day of the awards, I could barely get out of bed that morning. I was so exhausted. And then we did the win, and I literally danced like a 15-year-old the whole night. It was like, I could not have hoped for anything better than that winning South by, because it's also, it's really the independent filmmaking movement, because in a way, Sundance is very much, it's sort of much more political, and in a way, where South by is the raw deal,
And it generates buzz, and then that gets you the attention in the other locations. What was it like working with Emily?
Yeah, great. I mean, the actors were, I love working with actors. It was great, and she really took it on. It was very. She's very organic. It was wonderful. Yeah.
Is that what you were looking for? What were you looking for in casting that role? And what did you see in her that kind of made you go, yeah, that's who I need?
Oh wow. I guess, Alice. She's a very kind of docile. There's something childlike. There has to be something a little bit childlike about Alice, and we really kind of watch her transformation into becoming a woman in a way. And I guess that's, because Alice, she's an interesting character because she's a little bit, what do you call it? Effacée. She's not, she doesn't have a lot of charisma or presence.
A little introverted?
Introverted, but not in her, she lives through other people, so she's always, she lives in response to everything around her, rather than knowing who she is. Lisa, her, the friend that she makes, is a much more, even though she's really screwed up too, but, she's got presence, she's anchored. Whereas Alice is a more, it's an interesting thing. And I wasn't sure exactly what I was looking for. And it was very difficult casting. But then Emily came in and she read the script from beginning to end. And I just saw the movie. And it was like, and it just went really well with Martin. They were just they worked off each other really well.
The chemistry was just there. And sometimes when it's there. Sometimes it just clicks.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Casting is I think there's something I don't think you can be a filmmaker and not have a metaphysical kind of, side of you, because it's very interesting, particularly with casting. You write the character, you kind of draw in. It's, I think 99% of the casting in this film was like that. It was like, okay, that's Monsieur Gobert, or that's, Alice, or that's Francois. It's like, it really, and that's Lisa. It really was like, there's no doubt in my mind, not the slightest bit.
There's a blessing when it clicks in that way.
Totally. Yeah. It's like the lighting or the location or the, you know, when things come through, it's like, I couldn't have, you know, asked for better than this, you know.
So, Josephine, we got to go to a quick commercial break, pay the bills. Can you hang around after the break?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
We'll be right back with Josephine. And we are back with Josephine Mackeras, the maker of Alice. So we often, talk, I do a lot of commercials as well. I actually, produce a lot of commercials. And so, and so I know a lot about some of these things you're talking about, casting and some of the challenges, and I really enjoy doing it. And sometimes we talk about how difficult it is, even with certain commercials and things we want to do and hurdles that come up in the production process, just because of the sheer number of moving parts and people and everything that has to, and the money part of it, like you said. I think you said before it was really kind of part of a miracle that Alice was made. Would you still agree with that now, having gone through the whole process?
Yeah, a miracle. It's a miracle. I mean, I think it's kind of a miracle it just did as well as it did. But I mean, I was like a slave for about, for 3 years to this movie. So I guess if you're willing to really just give everything, in a way, it's sort of like I feel like Alice should inspire filmmakers. Like, you can do this. You can just make your movie. Because I know, especially in France, where everything is very, I think it's more common in America that people make things. They just go out and just do it. Whereas in France, you can meet directors who are waiting for 10, 12 years to get a film made. And, that's depressing. Like, that's a lot of wasted time. So I feel like Alice should be, like, you can do this, If you write a script that doesn't have, it's not too complicated production-wise, you can go out there and make it for, on your credit card, I mean, with today's technology. I wouldn't, if you can get money, it's much better. But, let Alice be an inspiration in that regard.
We were talking a little bit before about South by Southwest and how it kind of basically changed everything for you in the film. And you said you were dancing around when you got the call. Where were you when you got the call?
I was at South by. I was in the audience of the awards show. Yeah, this was way back before we were all free human beings. Yeah, I was in the audience. Yeah.
So did you have any feelings or premonitions it might happen?
No, I thought I might win the Cherry Pickers, and I did. But the big one, I don't know. I really know. I mean, I don't know. No, I don't know. No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. Not really. I mean, I was in absolute shock when I won. It was like, oh my God, yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. What makes you want to tell stories? I mean, you said earlier you were an actor. You switched from acting to filmmaking. Is it because maybe you thought you had something to say? I mean, what made you decide to make that leap from acting to actual filmmaking?
Because I feel like I've got too much to say. I mean, it's really, I don't mean to, like as an actress and it's very interesting because the moment I really went to New York and studied filmmaking was the moment that I had the opportunity to get into a very big agency in London, an acting agency that was like, it's like what every actor wants because that's how you get the work is you get the big agents. And I had it was a possibility. And it was like, and it was so interesting when success was that close, I realized this is not what I wanted, and I went to New York. So I feel like and the big thing was having too much to say, like working on Home and Away or whatever. I will never be satisfied. I've just got to, I love working on things that have a purpose and exploring something of meaning, So, yeah.
Who would you say are some of your biggest film influences?
Oh, wow. I mean, in France, I love Maïwenn and Jacques Audiard. Love. And I mean, but Milos Forman, all his early stuff, I mean, that just makes me go crazy. Susan Bier, especially all her early stuff. It's interesting. The film where I knew I wanted to do this was actually Ratcatcher by Lynn Ramsey. It was so long ago. I know you probably don't even, right? It's so long ago, but that's when I wrote, and I was like, I just remember I was so high after seeing that film. And it's interesting because it took me years to finally, and then Susan Beer's stuff came out, and it was like, oh my God, this is we just got everything in my whole being going. But, and then also, yeah, anyway, that's inspiration. But it took me years to get to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And that's interesting. And I think that might have something to do with being a woman or something. I don't know, maybe. But I'm not sure. But it took me a long time to finally say, I'm going to do this. And there's one other that I love. Oh, I can't remember now. But they're my big, I love those. Yeah. There's a few more I'm blanking. But, yeah.
Do you have any advice? I mean, you talked a little bit earlier about, how this could be an inspiration to other filmmakers. Do you have any advice to other up-and-coming filmmakers on things to do or not to do that you've learned firsthand on this?
Honestly, my biggest piece of advice, and people might not like this, but it's true, is work on the script. Like, get the script rock solid. Everybody wants a good script. Everybody wants a good script. They're the rarest thing. They're the rarest thing in the whole industry is really great stories, like hit the nail on the head. If you can really work your script, that's how you'll get the actors. That's how you'll get, that's why everyone said yes to working on this for free. Is they love the script. So do you know what I mean? And so I think it's interesting, and it doesn't cost money to write.
Well, it all starts with that. Though. I mean, it starts with that.
Yeah. If you can get a great script, you're off and running. You're so ahead of the game. You're so ahead of the game.
So, now that you've got this buzz coming from this, do you think you may leap back to that other project you were talking about, or is that other project?
You know what? Oh, that was on the table for so long. But it's interesting because when I wrote it, the lead character is about a transgendered boy to girl transition. When I wrote it, that was very radical. I remember even Danish Girl took years to get financing because no one wanted to finance a film about that subject. My film was better than Danish Girl, by the way. but it was really tough and it was very radical. And now I feel like it's gone to the other extreme. It's like that boat's gone, like that.
So that ship has sailed. So what can we expect from you in the future? Have you got any other projects that you're working on now, or ideas or scripts you're working on?
Yeah, lots of ideas and lots of, and lots of reading and lots of, and there's a few things in the works that have, they're not 100% concrete yet. So, but, I mean, it's funny, the whole COVID thing has really slowed everything down, which has kind of been good because I did really need to recover actually from Alice. So it was kind of good to have time out. But yeah, it's hard to know what's going to be next. Which one's going to take off,
Yeah.
First.
Well, Josephine, I really appreciate you being with us on the show. I know that it was kind of hit and miss trying to put this thing together because you're down there. You're in Australia, yeah?
Yeah.
So the times change, time zone differences and all that other stuff. So, but we really appreciate you being on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, Josephine Mackeras with Alice.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being on.
Thank you.
That is our show for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Special thanks to Josephine Mackeras for joining us, taking us home tonight, sitting in for the Mojiles, my son, Gianni.